Hello everyone, I'm Colin Kinnett. Today we're going to make this really easy but really accurate little sharpening jig, and we're going to show you how to make the measuring jig. We're not going to do any actual sharpening today. We're going to do that on another video, so you're going to want to subscribe so that you know when I post that video, which is going to be coming up real soon. So stick around and watch how we make this great little sharpening jig. Here's the parts we're going to need for the build today. I've got a couple of T-nuts, a couple of wing nuts, and I have some ready rod here. All of these are 1/4 inch thread. I also have some 1 1/4 inch dowling. You could use 1 1/2. I find that 1 inch was a little bit small, so I like this. The other thing you're going to need is a piece of fairly thick scrap wood, and this is about 1 inch thick, and we'll show you how to use that. The first thing I need to do is to cut my dowling to length. This is 7 inches long right now. Now my widest blade is 2 inches, so I'm going to cut my dowling to 4 inches, and that will allow me a little bit of space on each side. You have to be very careful when you're cutting dowling, no matter what saw you're using, because it can spin on you and get out of control. Let me show you what I'm doing here. The method I use is this anti-skid material. You can buy this at the dollar store. It's inexpensive and it really works well. Now I've also got it clamped to the back of the fence, and we're all ready to do a cut. I've moved over to the drill press because I need to drill some holes for the T-nuts to go in. And if you look closely, you can see where I've marked them on here. There's what those holes look like that I just drilled for the T-nuts, and the T-nuts are going to fit in that method. There you can see that's what they look like. But the reason I use a Forstner bit is now I have a pilot hole that I can use, and what I need to do now is drill a hole wide enough for the outside of that T-nut, this collar, to go into. I'm going to hack off a couple of pieces here, and then I'll have something easier to work with. This is a material that they use for locking nuts to bolts, and I'm going to use this here to put a permanent lock. We'll just screw that in and we'll let that sit for a while, and that should lock that thread in there nice and tight for us. Okay, while we let that sit, let's go on to the next piece. I need to make a little 25-degree angle wedge. There's our little wedge. The next thing I need to do is cut a V in that piece of wood that I showed you at the beginning, so let's go over to the table saw to do that. The V doesn't need to be very deep. I'm making mine a 1/2 inch, and it's not really critical where it is because it's only going to be used as a measuring gauge. Now, one of the issues with sharpening blades is aligning it in the jig, and we're going to solve that by putting this plate on, and you'll see in a minute how it works. But I'm just going to fasten it to the edge, and it's only going to be an alignment plate. Now there's the top of our plate, and I took a moment to just make a plate to go on top of that, and I enlarged the holes a tiny bit so it's easier to put it in. And here's an old blade that I have that I bought in a plane that we'll just use as a test piece, and that will go on there like that. And I've got a couple of big flat washers to go on top, and there's the wing nuts, and we're just going to fasten that down. Remember when we cut the 25-degree angles? I actually cut that down a little bit. And the reason I didn't tighten this is because one of the things we need to do, there's the bottom of our plain blade that will get sharpened. What I need to do now is to move this in my jig, and I want to align it, and that's why I put this in front so you can see. I want to align that to the 25 degrees, or as close to it as I can get. So I'm just going to keep moving that up like that until you can see that that is just about perfectly aligned with 25 degrees. I can snug that down a little bit now. That's nice and tight. And you can see now that the bottom of that plane is lining up nicely on the bottom. So now I'm just going to bring that piece of wood up. And what I want to do is I'm going to mark it. I put one nail in there, and the reason I want to nail it is because if I ever want to move this, I can just reposition these little nails at some point. There we go. So there it is. I've tacked that on, and when I put this and butt that right up to that piece of wood there, I now know that that's the perfect angle, 25 degrees, and now I can take that and sand that edge down. And it's that easy to change. If I lift this off of here, for example, I've got a chisel here as well. I can put a chisel on there. We'll just snug that down a bit. I can move that right forward, touching that piece of wood, and now it's also aligned on the back wood here so that I know that it's going to be square in there. Snug that down, and now I could sharpen the chisel exactly the same way. Well, I'm pretty happy with how that little jig turned out, and next time we're going to try it and we'll actually do some sharpening with this. So stick around for the next video because we're going to sharpen with our little sharpening jig. I'm Colin Cadet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.